What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to Have You Nerd. And, yeah, seeing as we're in a new year, 2023 just started, I thought it would be fun to grade all the toy companies that I collect for the year of 2022, or collect enough, play with enough, and hand enough to get a feel for their figures. I get a feel for their customer service and how they release figures and all of that, just a sense of them as a company overall. So, all the major players basically: McFarlane, Super 7, NECA, Hasbro. I don't collect a ton of Mattel. 3-0. I have Hot Toys. And yeah, this is all just kind of my personal experience with the figures, with the company. There's no research. The overall price doesn't matter, just the relative price. Obviously, Hot Toys are better and more expensive than a McFarlane or a Hasbro, but if their price is going up, as every company's has, but at a higher rate, and I feel like I'm not getting the quality of figure that I'm paying for, then that's what I'm rating it on. So yeah, they're all being graded based off the same basic things. Obviously, the figures and product overall, how well they are, the customer service in the relationship with the customer, the relative price, quality control in corners cut, and then basically the rest is just me making it up as I go and however the hell I feel about that company at that time. So, here we go. Should be kind of fun, actually. So let's start off with the biggest toy company in the world, and in my opinion, one of the worst performing for the year of 2022. And yeah, I had a lot of ups and downs with Hasbro. I love a lot of their lines. I collect a lot of their lines, especially Marvel Legends. I have a real love for. I like the G.I. Joe line a lot. Um, I used to love Black Series. It's love hate with Star Wars. But yeah, there's no denying they make a lot of great figures and have a lot of great lines, like the Marvel Legends line. But then they have a lot of bad lines, troubled lines, lines that they seem to not care about and not be excited about. But I mean, like, look at the Spirit. This is such a cool figure, such a dope figure. You could tell that they love making it, spent a lot of time on it. This classic Storm Shadow, the Bat. I mean, the G.I. Joe line and the G.I. Joe team is just killing it. You can tell they're energized and love their products and put a lot of time into it. This Venom, again, was great. The Venom Null 2-pack, amazing figures. Like, don't get me wrong, I really enjoy these figures. The Spinneret Spider-Man, people consider that the best Spider-Man we've gotten in Marvel Legends. But anytime you get a great figure, look at it. It's $80, $90 for a 2-pack, or it's considered a deluxe. And it's not even a deluxe like this Boba Fett. That was a basic standard figure, and all the collectors know it. And they just jacked up the price for zero reason because they're a publicly traded company, so all they care about is making sure that the next quarter is more profitable than the last quarter for their investors. And we're the ones paying for it, the collectors. They don't care about us. And they've shown that time and time again, and more over the last couple years especially. Then you have the whole matter of HasLabs. Should a billion-dollar company need to do crowdfunding? Probably not. Could they just do pre-orders with a down payment or something else, and then even if people bail out on the pre-orders, they have an estimate of how many people want them, and I'm sure they will sell out eventually anyway. And the HasLabs have, for the Marvel Legends team, for the most part, been great. Black Series team have been really just missing the mark. Are there a lot of great HasLabs? Yes. Do I think that getting them online or something like that is the only way to get them? Yes. They cannot store these in retail shelves. So, I mean, it is what it is, but that's another factor to consider in with Hasbro, is their HasLabs. Then you have the whole move to plastic-free packaging this year, which is, for the most part, a big miss. Occasionally, it does up the factor and make the figures a little better with the box design, like the VHS set, for example, or the this MODOK box set and a couple other cool boxes that they've designed. But for the most part, it is an awful choice, and you lose the whole retro cards, which kind of alienates half the collecting community, the mint on card collectors at least. I don't know what the percentage is, I'm just throwing out numbers, but I'm sure it's pretty high. You lose a lot with plastic free packaging that collectors do not like. So, all this being said, make a long story long, I give Hasbro a D. And remember, we're grading the company, not the figures here. So, next up, NECA. Okay, so NECA. And I'm not gonna lie, I might be a little biased here because I started with NECA. I love NECA. And number one on my list, the figures. Look at these figures. I mean, NECA just kills it with their action figures. The sculpts, the sculpting on the armor, the bodies, everything is just on point. They go the extra mile. They know the IPs and the properties. They know these lines. They put in so much detail and care from the shows or the movie, whatever the franchise is that they're making the figure off of. People making them definitely are fans, and it shows. And they care about these characters. They care about these figures. And yeah, they crush it on the figures. Now there's the price, the relative price. Now NECA used to be the kind of higher end figure above Hasbro. They were always around $30, and the Hasbro figure, Marvel Legends Black Series, was around $20. So you would get a little better sculpt, better details, way more accessories, which they just crush it on the accessories. But now, a deluxe Hasbro is the same price as a NECA, and it comes with almost nothing. It's a basic figure still. And so, yeah, NECA's price point just doesn't bother me. Look at this Joel and Ellie 2-pack. You get so much accessories, like a ton of accessories with these two compared to the Null and Venom 2-pack, which is actually $5 more to $10 more depending on where you shop. So, yeah, NECA's price point, comparatively, it's no question. It's way better than Hasbro. You get way more for your money. I don't mind paying the $37 for an Ultimate, knowing that it's going to outshine Deluxe Hasbro any day of the week for the same price, and maybe $9 more than a regular Hasbro. And it's definitely going to be better than that. So, I mean, there's no question that NECA makes better figures, puts more love and care into their IP, their lines. They charge a fair price, a fairer price, relatively. I feel like the price that they've gone up is truly just because of the inflation on plastic and shipping and their prices and overhead compared to Hasbro, which is just constantly doing it to make more profit and no other reason. But, I mean, look at this. This is my favorite line of NECA from last year. The TMNT Universal Monsters line. You got the Universal Monsters, you got the Universal TMNT, you got the TMNT line, the Robocop line. Yeah, NECA just killed it last year. But then, unfortunately, we had the whole Loot Crate situation, which dragged out the whole year and then some. So that brought them down to a B plus. They would have gotten A otherwise. So, yep, NECA comes in at a B plus. Next up, we have my boy, the Todd father, McFarlane Toys. Now, Todd gets a lot of hate because of some of the silly, nonsensical, just kind of ignorant things he says sometimes. But one, he's of another time, kind of. And I just don't think he's thinking. I don't think he means anything he says out of hate or is a misogynist or anything like that. But you gotta give the man his flowers. The man has changed two different industries. Comics, he left Marvel, started his own indie label, the first independent comic to ever hit 300 issues, started making toys, changed the toy game when he started doing face scans of actors and making detailed action figures of TV and movie franchises that nobody was making figures of. So, all that aside and out of the way, I may not agree with everything Todd says, but I certainly respect him and have for a long time been a big fan of his. Okay, with that out of the way, let's talk about the figures, because I love that Killer Croc. I love this Necron. Some people had issues with that Killer Croc, didn't like the articulation or whatever. I don't care, he looks dope. McFarlane makes these crazy vehicles. I mean, look at that. That's considered a vehicle. Joker Dragon. Look at this White Knight Batcycle. A pretty dope little vehicle for your 7-inch scale figures. And I talked about having a good relationship with the customers as far as putting out the figures in a timely manner and showing us what you got and then releasing them in a timely manner. $27 for a vehicle. Who else has a $27 vehicle? And McFarlane puts out the teaser, puts out the release date. They're out a month later. Like, everything is flowing like clockwork, constantly putting out figures. That Deluxe Bane was one of my favorite figures of last year. And people kind of hated on the way it looked, but just to show you, this is the Sideshow statue of Bane, and he's wearing almost the same exact outfit. So, I mean, it's pretty much a classic Bane. That figure's dope. Spawn, you get into the Spawn universe. He makes a lot of dope Spawn figures, and then you got the MK license. So, yeah, McFarlane is killing it. He's still the only guy with the $20 price point for basic figures. Granted, I said most of the figures I loved were deluxe figures, and even deluxe figures are at a good price point, $35 to $40. He has a lot of really good hits, and then a lot of misses, of course. And look at these prices. This is almost a perfect picture to represent his price points. $20 basic figures. You get a whole wave for $100 with the Build-A-Figure. Then $40 for a 2-pack, around $30 for a vehicle. That's how it should be, how it used to be. Again, not every figure is great. A lot of people hated on this Demon King Spawn figure. I thought he looked dope when he teased it. I thought about picking him out, saw the reviews, they were awful. That's just one example. Here go most of the lines that he's got. He's got Mortal Kombat, Page Punchers, Warhammer, and DC Multiverse, of course. Then he brought back this Dragons line. He brought back DC Direct. And then he's got the Batman Retro 66 line. And then he finally gave me a John Constantine in 7-inch form. So I love him for that. And then you get classic characters like this classic Green Arrow. So, yeah, overall, I think McFarlane had a great year. So, overall, for the year 2022, I give McFarlane an A+. Like I said, he doesn't always put out the greatest figures, but he's consistent and keeps a great price point and does put out a handful of bangers every year. So, alright, I'm going to stop it there because it's getting long, but tune in next time for part 2. We start with Super 7.